Not a spy. And any enlightened agents? How many of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about? Ah, the majority. All right. Well, I'm going to hopefully tell you a little bit more about Ingress and how you can become an agent for either the resistance or the enlightened. But only you can make the proper choice. I won't tell you which one is the right choice to make. But my name is Brandon Badger, and I'm a product manager for this game. I work in a small group within Google called Niantic Labs. I've been at Google for about 7 years. Had fun working on Google Maps and Google Earth, so you can see what your neighbors are building in their backyard. Worked on Google Books, where we scanned 18 million books. To just put that in perspective, if you were to stack that many books, it would go from here to somewhere really far away. I don't know how far. And then I worked on YouTube, live streaming. And one of the really popular categories of live streaming was gaming. So people really loved to go to YouTube and watch games live streaming. And then just most recently moved to this team within Google called Niantic Labs, where we've been working to build what we call adventures on foot. And we're a small autonomous unit within Google. And management at Google was kind enough to give us the opportunity to brainstorm and come up with our own goals for the project and for the team. So the team sat around and really thought about, what would be fun to work on, but most importantly, what would have a big impact on society, and what could we do in our short lives here on this earth that can make a big impact in the community. And we thought about 3 things. One thing was we really wanted to come up with a mobile experience that would get people off of the couch. If you think about it, technology has a lot to offer us, but a lot of times it can tie us down. Instead of liberating us, we end up stuck in our chair all day. And there's a lot of interesting research just about how many years it can take off your life to just sit in a chair at your office. I mean, our bodies didn't evolve. We were evolved to sort of chase down deer and on the savannah, but our bodies weren't evolved to spend all day sitting down. And it has serious health effects, but also financially. You just think about all of the costs that goes into healthcare. So as a team, we want to think about building a mobile experience to get people out, sweating, moving, exercising, burning calories. The other thing that technology does sometimes, one of the side effects can be that in some ways it can isolate us. So if we're spending our time at home tethered to our computer or to our Xbox, oftentimes we're not building those human connections in person. I have my 1,000 Facebook friends, but how many of those are really my friends, right, if I really needed them? So I think technology can connect us, but I think there's something to meeting people in the flesh, in real life, and building those bonds with other people. And also, when we spend more time in our local parks and communities, you care about those parks more. If you notice graffiti, if you see that they're not being kept up, if you're not spending time in those public spaces, we tend to forget about them and deprioritize them. So, experience that would encourage us to visit our parks. Go out on a nice sunny day, hear the birds chirping, and make use of these public spaces. And since we're a team of engineers and geeks, we also really want to have fun and explore this new emerging space of wearable computing and augmented reality technology. I mentioned technology tethering us to a desk. If you think about the first computers, it was in a big warehouse at work. Maybe NASA used the computer there to simulate weather or whatnot. But then you had the personal computing revolution where you could have your computer at your home, and that was a big deal. Nowadays, we all have laptops, iPads. But that trend continues to be more and more liberating. So now you'll see smartwatches, you'll see devices like Google Glass, with the vision that we can just go about and live our daily lives, that we don't need to be tied to a desk, that we can just go about our daily life, and the technology can augment that experience in our daily life. And I think with gaming, you also see these trends where the technology makes a leap to a new generation, and that affords new opportunities for game designers like ourselves to come up with whole new gaming experiences. So if you think about, things will kind of stagnate for a while with maybe a certain generation of gaming consoles or whatnot. But then all of a sudden, you'll have the technology for something like the Wii remote. And now there's a new type of game that designers can experiment with. And the same thing we think will happen with this revolution that we're going to see over the next 2, 4, 6 years, as devices like Google Glass, which today are still very much in the prototype state, in an early adopter phase, as these go more and more mainstream. That type of hardware is nothing without you guys building the software experiences to make that a fun and engaging technology. You see the smartwatches. I've been wearing a Fitbit to track how many steps I take in a day. There's all these new types of devices, and we're only starting to tap the opportunities for the new types of games using this technology. So that brought us to Ingress. Ingress it's really long, but it's a massively multiplayer augmented reality game. So basically, you get to live out your James Bond secret agent fantasy, running around the streets, saving your city from this alien threat, using your smartphone as a window into this alternate space, this alternate reality, that the rest of the population goes about their business not knowing about this exciting conflict that's happening around them. So just to give you a sense for those of you who haven't played Ingress, I'm just going to play a short video clip that gives you a taste of what it's like to play the game and the feel for this game.
What was the net effect of the Niantic project? We had crossed a threshold in which global security could be at risk. Decrypting the data was the mistake.
This is not psychosis or some cognitive break, but an actual takeover of the mind.
Much of the public sculpture found in our cities is based on design seeded in the human mind.
Certain places have an energy that not only attracts people, but attracts events.
The mission of 13 Magnus is to monitor the effects of mind hacking. Obviously, this will be done with the highest of security, to make sure that the ideas do not contaminate or threaten humanity.
This all leads to Niantic.
I know that many tools will be needed to fight this battle.
You just have to know where to look and know what you're seeing.
Portals emit exotic matter into our world, and that matter has certain effects on our world.
I started noticing that there were energy fields, anomalies on Earth all around me.
A few of them exhibit properties that are as yet unexplained.
I know that there are others out there.
What if they're already among us, but we don't realize it?
And I must be prepared to work with them or fight them. They are coming. Something's wrong out there in the world. This doesn't feel like a scientific study.
The one hope lies in understanding what happened at Niantic.
Not all mysteries are solvable, but the joy comes in the pursuit.
So, basically, you can imagine that when Congress found out that our group within Google was involved with mind hacking, they were a little concerned, but we were able to work that out. But that gives you a taste of it. We all have sort of our boring day job where, I'm writing software, I'm taking the kids to school, but I think the game taps into this fantasy that I'm really this secret agent, I've got this James Bond, I've got a mission to accomplish. And we've really seen our players adopt and engage with that identity of the game. So the basic story behind the game is that there's this exotic matter. It's this mysterious energy that's around us. And humanity has sort of chosen one of two sides. There's the enlightened that embrace this exotic matter and feel that it's something that can help us evolve. So there's been research that this XM, this exotic matter, actually affects our minds and it's the spark of creativity. So the thinking is that it's actually what gives artists their inspiration when they design things. And then there's the blue team or the resistance who feel like this has dangerous consequences or side effects. So it's something that we need to defend ourselves against. It's unclear what forces are controlling this source of energy and what its effects will be on humans. And in the game, it all centers around battling for what we call portals in the game. And we chose, when we were designing the game, we had to come up, well, what should players do battle over? And what we arrived upon was public art installations. One reason for picking art is that we wanted to find locations that would be safe and accessible. So most cities will have plazas. You'll have suburban parks. You'll have universities that have artwork as well. So they're in safe locations. It's also something that's scalable. So we really wanted to launch the game so that people could be playing this in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, all around the world. And so we were able to leverage some of the data that we had from working on the Google Maps team to build out this initial data set of public art, so fountains and murals and sculptures. And then once the game had launched, we built in a capability into the game where agents or players could also discover and submit artwork that they find in their community to our game. So you're able to take a photograph of a cool statue that you discover on your walk to work, and you can submit it to us with a title and a description. And then we have an operations team that reviews those to make sure it meets our criteria for it being in a safe location and meeting the artistic criteria, and then are able to add it into the game. So the player community really helps build out the game board for us and helps to make the game more and more fun for everyone. So the basic economy of the game is built around this exotic matter or this XM. So you can think of it a little bit like Pac-Man, but by moving, you're moving yourself and you're the character. So as you look at your phone, you'll see all these little dots of exotic matter, and you walk through the streets collecting those. That exotic matter then is what you use to power your weapons. When you deploy items, that costs XM. So there's this game mechanic where you'll take actions in the game, and then you'll run out of energy. And then that's where we get you to we motivate you to walk around the block a few times to fill up your energy reserves so that you can continue to play the game. One of the key aspects of the game is you have your scanner application. So this is what sort of lifts the veil. It's your new eyes that show you what's really behind what's all around us. And so we were able to leverage some of the data that the Google Maps team had collected and organized, and we were able to render our own alternate universe version of Google Maps. And then on top of that map, we plotted where these art portal locations were located, and we used data about human population density to know where to put the exotic matter and sprinkle it around the globe. So you use your scanner to find portals, whether they be neutral, gray, or controlled by either the Resistance or the Enlightened. And one of the first steps in the game is once you find these portals, you have to physically move and be standing next to those portals in order to interact with them. So you visit these statues, and in our world, you hack them to then farm or acquire items. So this is how you build up your inventory of the game objects that you'll need to play the game. In order to capture a portal for your team, you deploy a resonator. One of the interesting things here is that when we first started dogfooding or testing the application with Googlers before we released it, we had a game rule where a single player could deploy 8 resonators on a portal. So they could basically capture that all on their own. And that was fun, but every week we were testing different rule changes and variables. And one week we had the idea to change the rule such that you need 8 players to each install 1 resonator in order to build the highest power portal. And overnight, it changed the dynamics in the game where instead of just having lone wolf players walking around Google Campus playing the game, now all of a sudden there was this new social dynamic where people who weren't working together on projects, who maybe didn't even know each other, were now scheduling lunch meetups where they're getting lunch and then going around as this squad and pack of employees in the afternoon around campus. And so that was just an interesting way where it wasn't completely planned, but we were just by experimenting with different rules, we were able to change some of the social dynamics of the game. And if you interview players, it's those social connections that add the most fun to the game. So it's not just about shooting your weapons and pew pew, your lasers. It's really about the friends, and it's that walk that you take with your friends. So if you think about playing a board game like Monopoly, the fun isn't necessarily in the mechanics of moving your piece around the board game. The fun is in all the dead time talking with your uncle, playing with your friends at college, that kind of thing. And so you get that same effect with Ingress when when we incentivize players to get together in the real world, there might be a 5-minute walk from one end of the park to the other. And so our game benefits from those positive experiences and those social experiences that players have together. We started off with one simple weapon, which we called an XMP. Basically, it's just a bomb blast. And since then, we've added another weapon called an Ultra Strike, which is just a variation on this. And we're continuing to work on different variations of weapons, maybe Point Strike, and giving the user more control of what they can, how they target their weapons. One of the interesting things is the bomb blast is strongest right where you're standing, and then it dissipates as the blast goes out toward the end of the circle there. So you'll see players walking in a circle around a statue. And in San Francisco, you're not quite sure if they're just crazy or if they're playing our game. But it's interesting just how the game dynamics like that can get people to move around in interesting ways in the physical world as they play the game. And then there's a full suite of different modifications or upgrades that you can do to portals. You can put your shields and defenses on them, turrets and things that can attack and zap the opposing players to take away their energy, their XM. In our game, we have an object called a link amp that lets you create longer and longer links, which I'll talk about. And then modifications like a heatsink and a multi-hack that help you basically craft a portal to meet different needs. So you might need a farming portal to help you get a lot of items. So you can install mods such as the multi-hack to turn it into a farm, but maybe its defenses are weaker. So we're trying to provide interesting choices and tactics for players through these modifications of the portals. One of the interesting things is as you visit these portals and you hack them, you can collect portal keys. They have two game effects. One is if you hold a portal key, it allows you to remotely recharge that portal. This was an interesting game design choice in that we really wanted to stay true to this core foundational piece of the game that you needed to move through the real world to play the game. But as you can imagine, there's times when you're stuck in your seat, right? So right now, if someone's attacking your portal across the street, you don't want to miss my talk, so you can't get out of your seat and go. But so how could we come up with ways where you could play the game when you're stuck at school or at work or in line at the post office, but at the same time not go so far that it just really wrecks that sense that you really do need to move through the physical world. So the compromise that we came up with is that if you've already visited that portal physically, you get this portal key, and then when someone attacks your portal, you get a notification. So your phone will buzz, and then if you hold that portal key, you can remotely recharge it. The trick is that takes away from your energy and your reserve. So at some point, you run out of your exotic matter, and then you do need to move around the block, even if you're not at that physical location of that site that you're defending. And also, there's an efficiency curve where the further you are away physically from that location, the more XM is lost in the transmission. So you're always incentivized, if you can, to bolt out of your meeting at work to run across the street to defend your portal. The other thing that the portal key does is it allows you to create links between portals. And these links help you defend your portal. They boost the strength of the portal. And then they also are the building blocks for the control fields that I'll show you. And then the other fun thing about portal keys is they're just a cool souvenir. So this is a fountain at Stanford University. Here in LA, I've picked up a set of cool portal keys from Venice and from Santa Monica. And it's a different way to play the game. So you have the players that are really into the combat, but we have lots of other types of demographics, lots of other types of people who enjoy the discovery aspects and the exploration aspects of the game. So it's a great game to play when you're on vacation and you're visiting a new city, and you visit all the artwork and collect these portals. What's interesting is that players like to trade them as well. You might fly to Paris for vacation for a week, pick up a really cool portal of the Eiffel Tower, and then bring it back home here to Los Angeles. And you can trade that with other players. And it also, you get this cool feeling of feeling like you're smuggling these goods through airport security, right? Like even though these aren't physical things, you feel like you're physically transported it because you had to be there to get it, and then you had to carry it with you to drop it off and give it to someone else. So these portal keys allow you to create links, and this is sort of the basic building block of the game where you create these links between portals to form triangles, which are control fields. And in the fiction, these control fields basically control the minds of all the humans who live under them. And they earn you mind units. And so this is basically the point system of the game, how you know whether you're winning or losing. So we track how many mind units the Enlightened team has, how many mind units the Resistance team has. Right now we do that globally, but the team is also working on making that a local score as well, so that you can battle to win Los Angeles or to win San Francisco, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. And so what's interesting about this scoring mechanism is that it is based upon real human population distribution. So when you create a field over Los Angeles here, you're earning a lot more points for your team than if you create a large field over the desert in Nevada, for example. And there's rules such that links can't cross. And so there's a lot of strategy that goes into what's sort of the optimal set of links and shapes to create to get the most mind units for your team. Another aspect that went into this game is that we really wanted it to be a game that you could play throughout your day, and that you could really take on this identity of being the secret agent. So we have the Android app where you're out running in the streets playing, but we also built an Intel map where you can check up on the latest developments in the game, from whether you be stuck at work or at school via the web. What's fun about that is you'll see players take on different roles in the game. When we're holding events, I kind of think of it like the operator in the Matrix, where Neo is running down the street and the operator is telling, okay, Neo, turn right, and there's a phone on your left. During events, we'll actually have players from around the globe using the Intel map to direct the movements of field agents who are running around at the site of the event. And then finally, we launched an investigation board where every day we would release clues to the story. So things that look like redacted CIA documents, using YouTube, so video clips, and different multimedia to build out the story. There's a communications channel in the game. What's interesting about this is it works kind of like a local radio, where you can toggle basically the radius of your reception. So you can turn it to the global channel, and you'll see the stream fly by in German and Japanese and Czech and English. And then you can narrow it in on 200 meters, 20 meters, and you'll see the chatter of just the players here in Los Angeles in your area. One of the things we did is we have our own sort of sports center report, where every week we encourage players to submit to Google Plus and to Facebook reports of all of their exploits and their accomplishments in the game, and then our news editors take the best of that and then repackage that and produce it into this news report that we release every Thursday. And we've done 33 of these so far. And it creates this really nice feedback loop with our players, where they see the really cool accomplishments of other players around the world, and then they want to one-up that, and they want to get into the news broadcast. So this has been a really effective way for us to engage with our community. Also, with the Intel map, people post their screenshots of the cool shapes that they're able to create and all their cool accomplishments to Google Plus as well. The other fun thing that we've been doing is that we've been doing agent meetups. So the game is just always running, and it's running around the world. But we'll create what we call these anomaly events, where we'll say, okay, we're going to do an event in Los Angeles, next weekend, and there'll be a story reason about, why it's in Los Angeles, which characters are involved. But basically, it's like a pickup game, where we say, okay, we're going to just pick these 10 portals, and we're going to see which team can control those at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., and 3 p.m. You earn a certain number of points for how many portals you control at those key checkpoints. You get more points if you're creating links. And then we tally the score, announce the winners, and then everyone gets together at a bar afterwards and has a good time. So, this is something that we didn't necessarily plan out when we were doing the game, but it's been an interesting sort of meta game and a different way to play that's evolved on top of the game. So we've been doing meetups all around the world, and it's just amazing to see all the different groups of people, all shapes and sizes, people who are traditional gamers, but also people who say they haven't played a video game in years. And they all, they'll dress up, they'll come out to these events, they're meeting new friends at these events. Another thing that we did is when we launched in a closed beta, so you needed an invitation. And you could either request an invite and wait a few weeks, or we encouraged people to create their own original artwork and submit it to Google+. And then we reshared the best artwork and rewarded them with early access into the game. So it was a nice, fun feedback loop where people were being really creative. It was good publicity for the game. And it also fit with the game fiction, where creativity and artwork is sort of core to the game. Right now, just yesterday, we launched a new game called the Jarvis Shard game. And basically, you can think of this as a global game of soccer with 13 balls moving around the game. So there's 2 targets, goals. There's 1 goal for the Enlightened in San Francisco and 1 goal for the Resistance in Buenos Aires. And we're releasing 13 of these shards around the globe. And then these things hop between portals via links. So you're able to direct their movement by capturing the portal that they're on and creating links where you want them to go. And then every hour, on the top of the hour, these shards pick one of the links from their current portal and move along. So it's been fun to see players react to this. It's a different way to play the game. And we hope to see this as a fun way to play the game and see it evolve over time. And then the other fun thing, just partnership exploration. So we've enabled some business partners like Jamba Juices or portals, and we're exploring different ways to maybe when you hack a portal at a Jamba Juice where you could get an offer for some discount. We have exclusive game objects, so when you use a Droid phone, you can hack a special weapon type, and then power up passcodes. So with different types of beverages and whatnot, we'll put passcodes underneath the bottle caps for power-ups as well. So yeah, coming back to the project goals, it's been really satisfying to see how players have adopted the game. We have all these people posting Google+, how much weight they've lost playing the game. This was one joke, before Ingress, after Ingress. Bringing people together. If you go to Google+ and you just search for Ingress, you'll see all of these pictures of people, at a bar, getting food together, drinking together, and just making real-world connections. And these are friends not just in the game, but these are really friends that they're going to have for life, which is really satisfying to see. People getting tattoos. I don't know if maybe some of these they'll regret later in life, but it's just there's an intensity. A lot of people are getting these tattoos because it has changed their life. It's gotten them some new self-confidence, new friends, and so it's a positive sign to see this level of commitment to the game. And then, connecting in local parks. So you're seeing all this imagery of people in their parks. They care about them more, and that's also gratifying to see for the team. And looking forward, this is just one game. So, this is the Alien Secret Agent game, but we're hoping to build this out into a platform and to work with developers like yourselves to offer these tools, that come from Google Maps. And then hopefully you guys can just be creative and come up with lots of other different types of games that can be built on the globe as the game board. And that's it. Thank you. So I'd love to take some questions if you guys have any questions. Yep, in the sweatshirt.
How does it monetize?
Right now, we're experimenting with an advertiser model. So, one option would be with this type of game the question is how does it monetize? One option could be like a subscription. You could explore a way where people could purchase virtual items. But we want to be really careful not to go too far down that path where it distorts the economy in the game and people feel like they have to pay to play. So we're hoping that we can build some new advertising models. Like I said, we were experimenting with Jamba Juices being portals. If we can deliver a localized offer to players when they're physically standing in front of that store, and we're hoping that that's something that can be exciting to businesses, and maybe we can monetize the game via those business partners and still keep the game free for the players. Yep, go ahead.
Can you talk about how many active users you have?
We've had well over 1 million people download the game from the Android Play Store, and hundreds of thousands of active users. Yep. In the red?
Yeah, correct. The Android application use Google Maps API.
Yeah, the question is, does the Android application, does it use the public Google Maps API? And no, it doesn't. So it's just one of the benefits of being a group but still within Google. And a lot of our engineering staff came from working with Google Maps. We were able to access some of that raw data. But our goal is to provide that as a platform so that other game developers could build similar types of geo games on top of this foundation of the Google Maps data. Yeah. Well, great. Thanks, everyone.